It's still hot as hell here in Texas, and we've talked a lot about the war on workers in the state, notably HB 2127, which effectively bars local governments from implementing policies like water breaks to give workers relief. And why is this important? It's because the heat can be a killer. And Texas, along with this war on workers, is one of 13 states in the country that does not have universal prison air conditioning. About 70% of units in Texas prisons have no or only partial cooling. Prisoners in Texas are baking. Since the beginning of this godforsaken heat wave, 41 prisoners, I want to say that again, 41 prisoners in the state of Texas have died from heart-related or unknown causes, according to the Texas Tribune. This is notable because a lot of those people who are passing away from quote unquote heart-related issues are young people in their 20s and in their 30s. And just like when we talk about workers on the job sites whose deaths are being sort of chalked up to heart issues or other comorbidities, more often than not, when you're chalking it up to that, it probably means that this person was exposed to tremendous amounts of heat. And there's a whole host of criticisms from a lot of advocacy organizations about the way that the state is reporting deaths, and even from a lot of family members who think that the state is not telling the truth about the conditions and the causes of people's passing in these prisons. And there has just not been enough outcry for these conditions that prisoners are facing. I wanted to highlight some of the words of some prisoners here. This is from KUT, or NPR station here, 90.5. Why didn't they just kill us is the name of the article. 3 women talk about life in a Texas prison without AC. These are 3 women who were interviewed by KUT, who are being held at the hobby unit here in Texas. The sink water is brown when it comes out of the faucet. I know that maintenance puts bleach tablets in our water at times to kind of control how it looks. I'm not quite sure what I'm drinking. I can tell you some days are better than others. One of the biggest issues that I have is officers treating us as though water is a privilege. The officers are supposed to let us out every hour for cold water, but the officers are not doing their job making sure that we get cold water. We're in here. This is another prisoner. We're in here during the hottest parts of the day. There will be times I can't put my back on the concrete wall because it's so hot. The toilets we sit on are stainless steel. When we sit on those, sometimes the back of the toilet will burn your back because it's so hot. And lastly, one of them said, I just want people to remember that while I made a mistake, I'm still somebody's daughter and somebody's sister. I feel like anybody could be sitting where I'm at. I made a choice. I made a decision. It was a bad one, but I'm you. Just one decision away. Remember that we're humans. I did commit a crime. I'm still being punished, but this is torture. If that's what they wanted to do, why didn't they just kill us? And there is just tremendous inhumanity in these decisions. It's a shame on the state. It's the state on our leadership. It's a shame on this government. And all the while this is happening, if it's not shameful enough, there are plenty of people who are making a buck. Just to name one of them, Texas Public Radio also reported that the price of bottled water has gone up 50% in prison commissaries this summer. Quote, commissary vendor Royal Pacific Tea Company requested to raise the prices in March, even though its contract was incomplete. So as people are suffering under this heat wave all across the state, at job sites across the state, and in our prisons here in Texas, Royal Pacific Tea Company is making a buck with the approval of the state comptroller and Texas Department of Criminal Justice. It's truly just an inhumane thing to be putting these people in these conditions. One of the, you should listen to the entirety of these interviews. Why didn't they just kill us? 3 women talk about life in a Texas prison without AC, put out by KUT. It's really harrowing. They note that one of them describes it like the only way to describe what it's like in their cell is if you remember when you're a kid and you're outside playing on the road or on the concrete in the summer, and you know how hot it is if you're not wearing shoes or something like that. Well, they say, imagine if you just took that, folded it into a box and put yourself inside of it. That is what my daily life is like. Noting that a lot of prison guards are basically playing fast and loose with rules when it comes to water is sickening. Prisoners are supposed to be able to get a respite shower if they request it, which means that they're allowed to go and basically pour cold water on themselves in the shower so that they can cool down. Because as I noted earlier, 70% of the units in the state of Texas do not have air conditioning, which is a life and death issue for everyone in this state. Recently, the U.S. House Committee on Oversight and Accountability implored Republican James Comer to launch an investigation into conditions at prisons enduring sweltering temperatures, especially in Texas. The request follows the Republican committee members' investigation into conditions for defendants jailed on charges related to the January 6, 2021 insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. And that's a quote from the Texas Tribune. So this is just a basic humanitarian crisis. This is torture. To strip people of their rights, to deny them water, to make them bake in a cell where people are talking. As not to bring it up again, but that quote there should sit with you. Why didn't they just kill us? Is what somebody's saying about the conditions that they're under. Another note that's one of the prisoners made is that like even dogs in the pound have to have air conditioning. And what kind of message does that say for how we think about human life in the state of Texas when we treat animals and dogs better than we do human beings?
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely revolting.
It's disgusting. It's so clear too, as this heat has continued to be a killer and a devastating force in the state. That they basically the GOP here thinks that these people don't matter, that they don't exist, and that they can sweep this under the rug. And also remember that this isn't just that they're forgetting about these people. There are people making money off of this. And that is like adds to the sickness of it, right?
Hey, water's expensive.
Water's very expensive, right? I mean, it's disgusting.
And anybody that would withhold water like that would kill. Like they just haven't been asked yet. And there's basically seeing how close can we get to it being still considered negligence if you people die in these conditions.
100%. It's a shame on the state. So I hope everybody, can continue to raise awareness about this, spread the word, and, support these efforts to shine some light. The U.S. government, the federal government should absolutely investigate prison conditions in the state. This is just part of the reporting that we've heard about the abhorrent conditions that people are suffering under here. And remember, that there's a whole spectrum of people who become incarcerated, from people who commit crimes like murder, the people who might be incarcerated because of more petty pedestrian things. And they're all put under these same conditions. Don't forget that what happened to Sandra Bland in the state of Texas and many, many, many others who have been abused by the system. You are not as far away from these things as you might think.